also record this meeting. Okay, so no questions. So we are good to proceed on to this object-oriented programming. Okay, I'm assuming we are good. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate. Okay, so you can ask me any question, no problem. So here is the list of contents for today's discussion. So let's try to understand the fundamentals of object-oriented programming, what it is, what all the benefits object-oriented programming provides us, and what does it mean by an object and a class. And also we'll try to understand inheritance if possible at the end. Right? So we know that Java is an object-oriented programming language. So being an object-oriented programming language, everything is going to be handled in terms of objects. In other words, objects are to be considered as the basic building blocks of any application which is built by using your object-oriented programming languages. Right? So that way, using Java, we will be trying to create the objects of our own. We'll try to design the applications of our own, and we'll see how the objects will get created and how all those objects are going to communicate with each other and how those objects are going to perform the basic features which are listed as part of object-oriented features such as inheritance, modularity, polymorphism, encapsulation, what all these things and how can we implement all these features, that we'll try to understand. Right? And this object-oriented programming is not a new style of programming. It is there almost for the past 50-60 years. But it came into mainstream of application development or software development during the mid-90s. Why mid-90s? Because Java got launched in 1995. So it came into existence. I mean, since from the Java's existence, this object-oriented programming is considered as a major way of doing the programs pretty easily to get all those benefits of object-oriented programming. But originally, this object-oriented programming is there since 1960s. Even before our Java, there was C and C++ were there, and C++ was one of the popular programming languages before the existence of Java, which was supporting all those OOPS concepts, right? But today, there are many popular programming languages available, including your Java, C++, C#, .NET, Python, Ruby, all these things. They are all supporting the object-oriented features. So what is the greatness about these object-oriented features? So why people are running behind these things? What new thing is brought into this? What sort of revolution this object-oriented programming brought into the regular way of programming or the traditional way of programming? Traditional way of programming was nothing but all your basic programming, Pascal programming, Fortran, which was almost 40-50 years ago. People were writing lots of lines of code. Even the application size was measured in terms of KLOC. How many kilo lines of code you wrote. That was the measurement. But nowadays, if I say proudly, I wrote 1 lakh lines of code, people will laugh at you. Because you are not supposed to write lakhs of lines of code nowadays. Because there are several frameworks exist. So you are still writing some lakhs of lines of code on your own means either you are a mad guy or a crazy guy. Right? You are not aware of how to use the frameworks. So that's how there are several frameworks which are already available. So all those frameworks are once again implementing these object-oriented features. So you should be able to understand how do I write my own objects and how do I use the existing objects which are supported by the programming languages itself. So that way, when you are going to write the object-oriented programming, that style of programming is going to give you a collection of objects which are going to cooperate with each other, which is quite against to the traditional way of writing programs where there were thousands of lines of code was written in a single file. One file was written with some 10,000 lines, 20,000 lines of code. So if something went wrong in between, yes, the whole thing is collapsed. I mean, the entire application is collapsed. People used to write that way. They used to write some thousands of lines of code, and something went wrong, the whole thing need to get started from the beginning. It was the old style of programming which was to be considered as a traditional or sequential style of programming. But now also there will be lines of codes. The execution starts from top line and it goes till to the last line. But wherever you feel that these lines of code need to be repeated, you will be able to write, you will be able to arrange those repeated lines of code in a separate subroutine, which you can call it as a method or function. And you will be making a call to that function. So one call to that function is sufficient. So no need of repeatedly writing the same lines of code at multiple times, multiple places. So you are going to write those particular lines as a method, and you will be able to incorporate that method inside another object, and you will be able to make a call to that object. If any values required to be passed to that method, you will be able to pass. So like this, you are going to break the lengthy program or a lengthy file into the small modules, little modules. So each little module is going to carry certain functionality. So if the functionality is required at multiple places from one object to the other object, you'll be able to easily make a call to that. If the functionality requires some input parameters, yes, you'll be able to easily pass those input parameters required for that. So that way, if you will be able to split the entire code base of your project into small modules, you can call those modules as the objects, and you will be able to establish a kind of communication between all these objects so that each object is capable of sending the messages, sending some values, receiving some values, processing some operations based on the given input values, right? So that way you will be able to make that particular object to be a cooperative object with the other rest of the objects in your application. So that way your object oriented programming is differing from the traditional way of programming, wherein traditional way of programming was a single lengthy file, but here you will be getting number of files or number of separate modules, you can call them. And if you think that this module is required multiple places, that feature you can call it as a reusability. And if you think that this module is no more required, you can simply remove it. That feature is called as unpluggability. If you think that another module is required, you can usually bring that module and then you can plug in whenever required, wherever required. Right? So like that, reusability, pluggability, unpluggability, easy readability, easy maintainability. So all these abilities are proposed or promoted by your object-oriented programming. So that's how object-oriented programming is different from your traditional way of programming. And as part of your object-oriented programming, the objects are to be considered as the basic building blocks of your application. And all those basic building blocks need to be cooperating with each other. So that way, the intention of having your object-oriented programming is to promote the reusability, to promote the flexibility of the developers, right? To promote that code base to be easily maintainable, to promote that code base to easily plug in or unplugging the components whenever required and whenever not required. So this way, By looking at the code base itself, you will be able to analyze that code base. For what purpose this code has been developed? For what purpose this object has been developed in that way? What is the logic written? So you need not to go to the specification documents, all that. It is a old school programming. Now the latest thing is everything. The analysis should be taken care through the program itself. No need of writing separate documents and all. So if you think that it is a pretty complicated logic written there and you are thinking of breaking that complex logic into small components, yes, you are alone. Right? So all that possibility, all that easiness is nothing but with the help of your object-oriented programming. So as part of this object-oriented programming, we are going to understand what exactly does it mean by an object, and how do we create the objects, and why do we require the classes, and why do we require the rest of the benefits, rest of the features provided by object-oriented programming, such as inheritance, interfaces, packages, etc. etc. Right? Is it clear so far? Do you have any questions? So if you are not able to follow anywhere, don't hesitate to stop me. Otherwise, blindly I do assume that you are able to follow me pretty successfully. I am teaching very well. No. Right? So if you think something is not reachable, something is not audible, something I am making meaningless, right? So stop me. Okay. So let's go to what is an object. So as we said that object is nothing but the basic building block, or object is the very key element as part of object-oriented programming. So what exactly is an object? So as we said that Java is an object-oriented programming language. So how can you compare the Java object or any software object with respect to the real world object? Like, let's say we are all sitting in front of our laptop. We can call this laptop is an object. And this laptop being an object is a collection of some properties. So what are the properties? Monitor is its property, keyboard is its property, mouse is its property, power adapter is its property, right? So all these properties are basically meant for carry some data values required for this object, right? So the data values needed for this object are carried with the help of its properties. Even though each property is again an object, we can say that the keyboard is itself an object, and on that keyboard there are several keys. Each key is a respective property of keyboard, right? So each key is carrying some data, like key F1 is carrying some functionality, F2 key is carrying some functionality, insert key is there, page up key, page down key, home key, end key. So that way every key on my keyboard is meant for performing certain operation, is carrying some data value, right? So those data values of those keys are combined with the other keys are meant for performing some function. Like if I press Control Alt Del, so system is going to get restarted. So it is the functionality of that combination, right? So that way the properties of any object are utilized to perform certain functionality. So like that, any object it is, like keyboard is an object, laptop is an object, and again my mouse is itself an object, power adapter is an object. So all these objects are carrying some data through the properties and performing some functionality by using all those properties. That is what a real world object is. If you take a book is having some pages in it, and each page is carrying some information, some data in it. So we are going to use that book for reading purpose, and we are going to use that book for writing some notes. We are going to use that book to highlight something, right? So like that, every object which is carrying some properties is meant for certain functionality, is performing some activity, right? So like that, book is there. Book you are going to keep it in a rack, book you are going to keep it in a bag. Bag is another object, right? So like that, every object is trying to coordinate with each other. Bag and book are coordinating, book and your hand is coordinating, book and your mind is coordinating, book and pen are coordinating with each other. By using pen you are trying to write there. By using highlighter you are trying to highlight some lines of statements in your book. So that way, any real world object it is, you will be able to convert the same thought process whenever you are going to working with the software objects as well. Irrespective of the programming language, don't worry about the programming language. So programming language is just a tool how you are going to make up those particular software objects. So you can use either Java or you can use C Sharp, you can use C++, you can use your PHP, you can use your Ruby, Python, whatever. They are all supporting the object-oriented programming concept. So the basic idea you need to understand is that the real world object thought process, how can you translate it into in terms of the software object is the key thing here, right? So like the way the real world objects are carrying the properties and functionality, which you can also call it as the state and behavior, the same thought process you will be able to apply in terms of object oriented programming. So that way you will be able to develop any number of software objects. You will be able to write the software objects that way. So if you are working with the software object, so you are going to carry some data with the help of its properties. You are going to perform certain function, or from Java perspective, the function is called as a method. You are going to perform certain method. That method is going to utilize all those field values, all those property values, right? You want to show anything? Do you have any question? Okay, no problem, no problem. Right? So once we start writing the Java programs, definitely I'll make you the present. Don't worry. No problem, no problem. Okay, I understand. Right? So let's take one simple example, a vehicle example. So vehicle is to be defined with some speed. Vehicle is to be operated on certain gear, and vehicle provides me the functionality to change the gear from first gear to second, second to third, like that. And in a vehicle I'll be able to raise the speed by pressing the accelerator. So accelerator is the property which is performing some functionality. I'll be able to change the gear. Gear changing is a functionality, right? And I'll be able to apply the brakes so that I can reduce the speed of my vehicle, right? So this real-time thought process, if I can translate it into in terms of writing some software objects, I'll be able to prepare the objects required for my application, right? So that is what the object example it is. So the benefits of all these objects, as we discussed so far, modularity. So you'll be able to define as many modules as possible, as smaller modules as possible, so that if you think that this module is required, you can keep it. If you think that that module is no more required, you can unplug it. If you think that the module with some more modifications came in again, so you'll be able to easily plug in that, right? So you wanted to hide some information, you wanted to do the code reusability, pluggability, debugging. So these are all the things which are considered as the benefits of object-oriented programming. So all these benefits are pretty much illustrated with a question answer format. So these question answer formatting slides are helpful for you for your interview preparations, all that. So I'm not going to walk you through that. So whatever we discussed so far, the same thing is there. So you just read out this theory once this PDF is shared with you, right? So like that, how can we create the object? So you wanted to create the object, so there must be some template. There must be blueprint. So that blueprint is nothing but a class. Based on a blueprint, based on a certain prototype, you will be able to create the objects. So that prototype or that blueprint is nothing but a class. Right? So that is how, by using our Java programming language, we need to write a class first. Then when we are going to instantiate that class, we will be able to create the object. So when you are going to write a class, inside that class you are going to define the properties. When you are going to define the properties, you are going to use all those primitive data types whatever we discussed, or in addition to those primitive data types, any other object types you wanted to define there as the properties. Yes, you can define them. And then the functionality is going to be defined in terms of methods, right? So that is how, in case if you wanted to convert the thought process we thought of about the vehicle object, you will be able to write a vehicle class, right? So inside that vehicle class, you are going to define its structure by writing all its properties, by writing all its methods. So that way you can say that the properties and methods that we are going to define inside that class are to be considered as the members of that class. Right? So let's write this class. Let's write this vehicle class. So who want to be the presenter? Ahmed Pasha sent me a request. So is anyone wanted to share your screen? Tirumal, Vanilla. Okay, I'm making Ahmed Pasha the presenter then. Yes, Ahmed, you can share. Let's try to write that class and then let's try to create that object. Wait. We will, so far whatever the classes we were creating, they were all getting created in a default package. So now we will try to arrange our classes in our own packages. Cancel this one. So first of all, let's create a new package of our own. So if you go to src folder and right click on that, say new package, new package. Okay, name this new package as com dot any name. So package naming convention should be all lowercase, com dot oop dot practice. Okay, all the object oriented programming things we are going to practice under this, so we just wanted to name like that. Just say finish. So it is going to create a new package for you. Right there you see. So in that package we'll try to create the classes. Right click, then say new class, vehicle, capital V. Class names naming convention is it should begin with a capital letter. If it is sounding like multiple words, so each word need to begin with the capital letter. No need of main method. No need of main method. Just say finish. Okay, so here you can see that public class vehicle, and on top of that the package definition is also created. Package is a statement which is going to arrange your vehicle class in that package, right? And if you want to see where it is physically located at, you can go to your core Java practice folder in the workspace of yours. Go to C drive, users, and go to your user, go to workspace, maximize this, workspace. There you can see the core Java practice folder. Inside that src folder, right there you can see com is a package, com.oop.practice. So this way it creates those subfolders, right? And your vehicle.java is safely kept here. Okay, now minimize this, then come back to your public class vehicle. So let us declare these three properties. So I want to declare three properties over there. So copy these three properties and paste them inside that vehicle class. Alright, int speed equal to 0, int gear equal to 1, string color equal to black. Right, save this. And you can also observe in your bin folder, go to the C drive, the Windows Explorer, which was already kept open. Go to the bin folder. Core Java practice you can click on. Yeah, bin folder. Same thing, same structure will be created. Com, op, practice, vehicle.class file. Right? So whatever the structure that is defined for your src, the same structure is applicable even for your storing the binary files of it. Okay. Now go back to your Eclipse. So there we defined the three properties, and let us define few functionality as well. So copy these three methods. Alright, so here if you observe the first method, change gear. So change gear is taking one parameter called int new value. So that new value is assigned to the gear property. So by default the gear property, the gear is there on the first gear. So we are changing that to the new value whatever you assign to that. Then speed up is another property, right, wherein you are passing some increment value. So whatever the current speed is there, if your current speed is 0, so to that new speed value, that increment value gets added, and that is how the speed is incremented. Then when you apply the brakes, so you want to slow down your vehicle. So speed equal to speed minus that how much slow down you want to do. So that's how it is going to slow down. Now in case if you want to print all these details, I wanted to know what is the status of what are the values of my properties from this. So copy this method and paste it after line 18. So what is my vehicle color, what is the speed, what is the gear, all that I wanted to know. So then I'll be defining that void print states method. So whenever this print states method is going to call, it is going to print me all those details. Press Ctrl Shift F, save it, and you will not be able to run this program. Why? Because main method is not there. So a class without main cannot be executed. So if you try to run this, you can't run. Right click, run as, you can't see that option, run as Java application. Right? Why? Because main method is to be considered as the entry point for this program, and this program is not having that entry point. Hence you will not be able to run this program. So this is just a class, right? So I want to run this, I want to operate all these methods. Then there must be a separate class you need to write with the main method. Or you can write the main method here itself, but let us not disturb this, right? Create a new class. Right click on that package, com.oop.practice, and then say new class. And name that new class as vehicle test. and also take the main method. Okay. So copy this one line of code. Let's say that vehicle V1 equal to new vehicle. Okay, vehicle is a data type. V1 is the variable name. New is a keyword which is trying to instantiate that vehicle object. New vehicle. So vehicle object will get created. Now press enter after that line. Just pass these details. Paste these methods. So how do we invoke the methods on that V1 object? We just wanted to verify. Or even if you want to try, you can type V1 dot, then it brings up all those things. Or you can copy them and paste them. Right there you see. V1 dot, as soon as you type, you will be able to see its properties. You will be able to see the methods that are defined in that vehicle class, in addition to the methods of object. So object is to be considered as the supermost class in the Java programming. So any Java class we are going to write, everything is the sub-component of it. So you will be able to access all the methods of object class. So your own methods are defined with those triangle symbol, right? So apply brakes, change gear, print states, speed up, right? They are all the methods of our own. So those methods we are able to invoke them by using the object that gets created. So here who is the object? V1 is the object and vehicle is the class. So vehicle class has got instantiated as an object here, and that object is referenced by the variable called V1. Right? Now you can paste my lines of code that I pasted here. So let's say V1 dot speed up 10. So we want to increase the speed so that it is going to be operated at the speed of 10, and we want to change the gear from 1 to 2, and then would like to print the details of that vehicle V1 details as follows, right? So let's see what it is going to print. Save it and run it. So you'll be able to run it now because this time it has got the main method. So we need to save the programs which are not saved. There you go. So you'll be able to see the V1 details as color is black, speed is 10, gear is 2. Is it correct? This is how you operated that vehicle. So that's how all those details got printed on your console. Right? So similarly, if you create another vehicle, can you create? I want you to create vehicle 2. No, don't go for new class. I want you to create another object. I want you to create another object called vehicle V2. Not outside the main method. It should be inside the main method only. Outside the main method, nothing is going to get executed. Press one more enter, please, so that there will be some differentiation. Those are all the lines of code with respect to vehicle V1. and now you are trying to create vehicle V2. Vehicle space V2 equal to new vehicle, so that it is going to create a new vehicle object for you, which is referenced by the variable called V2. Okay, so on that V2 object, let's take all these things and print those details. So what you are doing right now, V2 dot speed up 10, V2 dot change gear 2. Again you are calling that V2 dot speed up. So what will happen? Current speed is 10. So with the second time call, 10 plus 20 it is going to execute. So the speed is going to be set as 30. And the gear value is going to be changing from 2 to 3. Right? So now if you say V2 dot print states, it is going to print you all those details of that V2 object as well. Save it and run it. Let's see what is the output it is going to show you. Does it make sense? Color is black, speed is 30, gear is 3. So this is how you will be able to show the details of that vehicle object. Is it clear? Anybody any questions? So here vehicle is the class and V1 and V2 are the objects. This way we will be able to define the properties and methods in one class, and after instantiating we are able to invoke those methods and able to perform certain functionality like this. So we said just vehicle. So anything can be vehicle. A bike is a vehicle, a bus is a vehicle, a car is a vehicle. So all those vehicles are going to have all these base properties, right? So if it is a bike, there must be gear. If it is a bike, there must be speed. There must be color, right? So on top of these three properties, they will be coming up with additional properties, like say number of wheels. For a bike class, number of wheels will be 2. Whereas for a car, number of wheels will be 4. For a bus, it could be 8. Right? So like that, it is going to be changing with the additional properties. Means the base properties, whatever are already there, they remain the same. So I want to reuse the existing functionality. So to do the reusage of existing functionality, what you need to do is keep the current class as it is and extend that class so that you will be able to write some new functionality on top of the existing one. So that is where inheritance comes into place. Inheritance means utilizing the existing functionality by extending the current class. So how can we extend it? Right? So let's write a new class, I will tell you. Right click on that com.oop.practice, new class, and name that new class as bike, B-I-K-E. And there you can see the super class, which is java.lang.object. Means by default everything is from the super class java.lang.object. We want to change that. Click the browse button and type your class vehicle, then say OK. So we want to extend the vehicle class. Means we want to reuse the functionality of vehicle. So for my bike, who is the super class? Vehicle is the super class. Click finish. So it is going to create bike.java. And there you can see that extends keyword. Public class bike extends What it is trying to extend? Vehicle class. So your vehicle will be considered as the superclass and bike is considered as the subclass. Right? So this way, through this bike class, you will be able to use the existing functionality of vehicle as it is. You need not to make any changes to your vehicle. In addition to that existing functionality, you will be able to write your own functionality like this. For example, I want to write a new function, new method in this bike class like this. Void change color. Copy this method. So I want to pass a new color value so that the color of the vehicle must be changed. That is what I would like to do. So where from that color property? Color is the property from vehicle class. If you keep the cursor highlighted on that color, it will tell you where from that color property. It is a string property declared inside the vehicle class, right? But you are able to access, your bike is able to access it because bike is the subclass of vehicle. It is able to access. So this way you can call this bike is inherited from the vehicle class. Bike is inherited from the vehicle class. So this feature is called as the inheritance feature of your object oriented programming, right? So this is one method we wanted to write. Now let's create a new class, call it as bike test.
Sorry, sir, can you repeat?
Bike test. Bike test. Take the main method also. Bike is already existing, so we want to create bike test and take the main method. And let's create two bike objects. Bike V1 or B1, whatever you want to say. Right? Bike V1 equal to new bike. Bike V2 equal to new bike. Now let us invoke the methods on these objects. So first let us invoke the methods on V1 object, saying V1 dot speed up of 80, V1 dot change gear to 2. So where is this speed up? Speed up is there inside its parent class. Change gear is there inside its parent class. And then when you are saying print states, it is going to print you all those values with respect to that V1 object, right? Similarly, you can also apply against the V2 object as well. Copy these lines. V2 dot change color. So where is this change color method? It is there directly in the bike object. Since your V2 is the instance of your bike, you are able to invoke that. And also you are able to invoke the methods from its parent class. So change color is the method from itself. Change gear is the method from its parent. Speed up is the method from its parent. And let us print all those details. Let's see what it is going to print you. Save all the classes. Even bike is not saved. So if bike is not saved, change color method is giving you error in your bike test. Bike is not saved. First go to bike, there is an error, right? So first you need to fix that error. Now save that class. Now come back to your bike test and then run it. There you go. So bike V1 details as follows. Then bike V2 details are printed, wherein the color is changed, speed is changed, all that. Clear? Does it make sense? How we are working with this parent class and the child class thing, which is nothing but the inheritance. It is one of the object oriented features we can say. Right? So today I will share you one book. If you already have that book with you, no problem. If you don't have that book, please download that book that I am going to share it from my Google Drive, Java 2 the complete reference textbook. Do you have it? The physical copy during your academics or sometime you might have read it. But if you have it, well and good. If you don't have it, please do download it. I'm sharing it from my Google Drive. Okay. So I recommend you guys to read that book. Right. Please let me know if you got the email. I sent you an email. I shared it from my Google Drive. You can directly type drive.google.com. Right. You download this book onto your local, and from this textbook I can say that we are done with the first 4-5 chapters. Now we are in the 5th chapter or somewhere. Right. So please go through this very good textbook. So after reading this textbook only you will be able to read any other textbooks. I mean, this is a kind of spoon feeding for you, right? So try to read this, try to understand the concepts that are very well explained here. So the part 1 we are in, right? So from part 1, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5 we are done. Now we are in chapter 6. Today we are done with the chapter 6 and chapter 8 and also some portion of chapter 9 also, packages, right? So why package, what package, all that is very well explained. So I just gave you a shortcut approach how to create a package. Theory, read there, right? So that's all about this thing. So that is the textbook you need to read. So keep reading the textbook. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Okay. So I'm uploading this PDF, today's class PDF as well. Have you downloaded all the PDFs of your previous? If not, please download, because I am going to clean up at least 1 or 2 old ones. I need to delete from there, right? So please download all the files, whatever shared with you. Right? If you missed any, please let me know. I'll share them once again if you want. Okay, so that's all for today. Any questions? Are you able to understand what we discussed so far? Okay, chalo then. So if you don't have any questions, let's wrap it up here.
Hello, sir.
Yes, 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 Thirumal, yes.
I got an error, sir.
You want to share your
It's,
screen?
yeah,
Okay.
it shows compilation error.
Means
V1 can't be resolved.
file would not be saved. So save the files, then it generates the class file, then no compilation errors. Yeah, I made you the
I
presentation.
say,
Please share your screen. Let's see
okay.
what's the problem. Okay.
Yeah,
You said bike B1, right? But you are trying to
yeah,
click on V1. So it will give you the error. So make it bike V1, error will go away.
bike V1, okay.
Then if you want to say B1, so on all those things also you
Yeah,
can say B1 dot speed up, right?
yeah, okay, sir.
Okay, now run, you'll get the output.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Chalo.
Yeah.
So you got the difference between object and the class,
Yeah. Yes.
right? Okay then.
Mm.
So any more doubts? Any more questions from the other guys? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Chalo. All right then. See you tomorrow.